quarry where they made all these moai. They made the red sort of top hats or top knots in a different place. We'll go and have a look at that later in the afternoon. This is Ranaku, the quarry where these moai were built, or quarried out of the face. It doesn't open till 9 o'clock in the mornings, and it's one of two places on the island where you have to show your pass. This $60 or this $60 pass, which you had to buy at the airport in order to get into the national park. Your pass is stamped at this place here, and it also stamped at Orongo, which I'll go and have a look at later this morning. I was talking to somebody and they said that you're only allowed to visit these places with a pass once. It seems a bit odd, but I suspect if you just make some excuse like your camera failed or you've lost something and you want to go and look for it, it would seem that there's no problem getting back in again. Did the tribe have to make an order to get one of these things and state what the specifications were, how big it was going to be, or did they just quarry them out and have a few lying around that you just went and picked one out, like a Maui showroom? And did they do delivery and erection service, or did you have to get the tribe to carry this thing or move this thing from here to wherever you wanted it to be? I imagine if you wanted a specific size, then you'd have to order it, I would imagine, more than a year in advance of when you wanted to erect it, because I would imagine when you erected one of these it'd be a great ceremony. Whereas if you just wanted to make do with what they had on hand, so to speak, you just took it away, albeit very slowly. If I zoom in, you'll see some standing on the hillside in this lovely early morning sunshine. There they are. It's my little Jeep I'm whizzing about in. All these moai, and there you can see where they've been quarried. Some of them there you can see are half finished. And everywhere you can see signs of its volcanic past. And you can see a crater, of which there are several. They're the only source of water, these craters, on the island. And, the largest of them is up near Orongo, which is at the other end of the island to where I am now. And this is all. This is almost a classic view of the quarry. Whether these were to be moved or whether they were erected to link with the ancestors in this place, difficult to say really.
Unfortunately, the light has passed this by and it's in the shade. But there you can see the head of this mower, which is, the head is almost completely carved out. But the body is still firmly attached to the rock. So all that effort that went into carving that great big lump there, and then they just abandoned it. It must have been something quite significant that caused it. Maybe the older people, the elders, hung on to this Moai cult for much longer, whereas the more powerful warriors, the younger element, they started leaning towards this Birdman cult, which is based around Orongo, and look at that in a couple of days' time. But they've left an amazing legacy. There's a wonderful view of these Moai at the quarry. Lots of nice light and shade, and it's beautiful sunshine, and the temperature is really nice, but it's very windy, so I suspect there might be some wind noise on this video. But, you get what you get. you can't hang about here waiting for a nice day, because I suspect it's windy all the time. And here are a couple or three with almost completely buried. Just the head showing, and obviously all the body under the ground. But it's very, very quiet. I've only seen half a dozen people. They're obviously trying to replant with these trees here, where I suppose they're indigenous, I don't know what they are. And they're clearing away all this scrub around these saplings. Looking at how much of it there is, it's going to be a hell of a task. This is the other side of Ranaku quarry. This is inside the crater, and you can see there that it's quite a substantial lake. And when you're climbing up, there's a water pipe obviously leads from it. And over there are some moai on the hillside. You could stop and photograph every one, but you'd be for weeks. I think there's about 800 of these things in various states of disrepair. Some in groups, some odd ones, and lots of them almost eroded beyond recognition. And then just below them are a little group of horses. There are thousands of these on the island. I think there's more horses than people, and you have to be very careful because they're a bit like sheep in Yorkshire. they're not very traffic conscious, and if you hit one with a jeep or hit one with a vehicle, bearing in mind there is no insurance on these vehicles. If you damage it, you pay for it. There's no insurance cover at all on Easter Island, so you have to be very careful. But the top limit is 40 miles an hour, and they're pretty strict about you keeping to it, and in towns it's much, much less. The distances are very small. You know, it can be from one end of the island to the other in 20 minutes, providing you don't stop. But of course, if you stop at every moai or historic site, it takes you half a day. This is the fruit of this this bush or tree which they're trying to propagate here. It's all over the island, actually. Some kind of, almost like a nut, a bit like a walnut really, I suppose. There's some kind of seed inside there. Of course, I would think horses and things would eat these. And goodness knows there's enough of them. Well, I've arrived at Punapau, and this is where they made these little pukao. These little, well, that's a little, they're blooming enormous hats, these little top knots that sit on top of these moai. And there's a little Punapau trail. I don't know how far it goes, but we'll meander along. Oh, it's not very far. 200 metres. Looking at that scale there. These scabby dogs, feral dogs. She's a lovely looking bitch, but what a terrible life they have. Hangaroes. Having been plagued with feral dogs. They're either in pup or they're in season. And there doesn't seem to be much in between. I mean, the amount of dog feces and pee they must produce all over the town. They're very harmless. I mean, they look quite fearsome, but they are quite harmless. She's obviously got pups somewhere. It's a great shame. Here you get a better idea of the richer farmland areas. It's quite strip farming, it seems to be. But considering they grow lots of fruit and vegetables on the island in this rich volcanic soil with a climate which is conducive to doing this all year round, the fruit and veg in town is very expensive. I bought 5 big tomatoes, they were £1 each. I nearly died when I got the bill. There's some information about these pukao. You can see there that when they're quarried, they're much bigger. And when they're rolled, I imagine they were rolled to the moai, and the finishing off was done there. I would imagine when you were rolling them, I would imagine there's a fair amount of damage done to these things, bits knocked off and all sorts. But the final dressing was done when they got to the final site. So you can see this is the what they left the site looking like, and this is what they looked like when they were stuck on top of a moai. This is at Ahu Nau Nau. I don't know where that is. I'll have a look on the map. It seems from looking at that there is a hollow in the bottom of the pukao to hold it on top of the Maui. But when you look at the pukao on the ground at the ceremonial sites, they don't seem to have any. They don't seem to have this this hollow underneath. And it's been bashed off or what, I don't know. And this is the town of Hangaroa. And this is the quarry where these pukao were made. Other things were made from this red stone, but it's quite decorative. So here are some of these pukao just left behind. Cancelled orders, as it were. when the whole system fell apart. All sorts of practicalities puzzle me about this whole business. I mean, if you wanted a Maui for your little, or your big platform, did you have to go and get it yourself, you know, your tribe? Or was there a tribe exclusively for cutting these Maui out from the rock face? And did you have to put your order in to say how big you wanted it? So you certainly couldn't have one with a smiley face, that's for sure. They're all pretty miserable looking. And then once you'd decided on the size of your Maui and where it was going to be, did you have to come here and order its pukao, the top dressing, so to speak? It would seem strange if each tribe had to go and cut out their own Maui. I suspect there might have been a tribe whose sole purpose was Maui production. And ditto at this bit here, there was probably a tribe who were responsible for pukao production. Whatever it was a long-term thing, because cutting a Maui must have taken months, if not years, over a year to do, and ditto the hat. Obviously, if you had a great big Maui, you didn't want a small pukao sticking on the top of it. It would have looked really strange. Probably made you the laughing stock of the next door. Because the other thing is, of course, that whilst these tribes are warring with one another, I mean, was there at the quarry where they quarried these Maui, was that a sort of a neutral ground where this one seems to have a great big hollow carved out inside of it? But they are big. I mean, that must be what? That must be nearly 8 feet in diameter.